On the agenda?
Do I have a second?
Second. Sharon? All in favor?
Micah.
Aye.
And pass. And I pass. Sorry, thank you. Okay, nomination of new secretary from your Communication Commission. Do we have a volunteer?
It has been brought to my attention that I have experience at taking minutes, and so I would like to volunteer to be the secretary of the Communication Commission until somebody else will step forward or can be found.
I make a motion to have Uta O'Connor take over the duties of Secretary of the Communication Commission. Second?
I second it.
All in favor? Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Congratulations and thank you.
And I guess I start tonight?
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Thank you very, very
Thank
much.
you.
It's only been 4 years. I'm sure it won't be that long for you. Anyways, now we have, has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes.
Any deletions, changes? If not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
I second it.
Richard. And it's second by Richard. Okay, great. We're making tremendous progress. We have to go, oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you very much. See, you're indispensable. Okay, report of standing committees. Mrs. Smith is not here tonight. Cable Department Supervisor.
Okay, I come here with one goal tonight. In front of you, the cover sheet, the top sheet says advanced. These are the two bids that we received on May 10th. I contacted 4 companies, and we put it in the paper. We got 2 bids for the first part of the 3-part upgrade that we budgeted this year. This was for the TriCaster. As it turned out, right after we went out for bids, the present system that we used just died, the Global Caster. So right now we're, like almost every system in the cable department right now, we're in a state of flux where we're on plan B on almost everything. But anyway, we got 2 bids in, one from Thalner Electric, which was the high bid. I think at 20, if you look, 23,700, I think it was, 23,700. Yes, it's 23,771. The low bid was from Advanced, which is a company in Troy, which I have never dealt with before, 21,103. There is a caveat. The advanced bid does not include a desk that we want to put this system on. They didn't seem to be able to find the model that I requested in my bid, and he called me and I said okay, and he has an alternative one for about the same price. So the 21.1 is deceiving in the fact that we'd still have to buy a desk, which is about $600. So that's basically the situation. I have called Sean in advance and started talking so I could get some kind of relationship with the company. Thalner Electric, I have a 14-year totally positive relationship with, so I was kind of rooting for them, but they didn't come in. So I guess my recommendation would be to go with Advance. From what my talking to these people, they seem to be, they have a lot of experience. He's going to come out here as soon as I let him know if he's got a chance, if he's going to get the bid, and we're going to do some work out here so he gets an understanding. He is familiar with us because he worked for a different company back in 98, 99 when the bidding for this room went on. He worked for Roscor, and so he's familiar with Grosse Ile and this room because he actually put a bid in to to put the equipment on when he was working for the other company. So he was, I don't remember him, but he was familiar with me more than I was familiar with him. So if we're going for the low bid and saving the money, which I think is probably the way we should go, I think I would recommend going with Advance. Here's the timetable that I'm up against. This is our last meeting before the 24th of June. And I need to get the board to approve this on the 24th of June, one way or the other, because on the 27th of June, the price goes up $2,300 or 10%. And that's for both companies because they both deal with the TriCaster, and the price of the TriCaster is going to go up to each company $2,300 on the 27th of June. So hopefully, I talk long enough where you guys can discuss this or ask any questions and make a decision, or I guess you guys would make a recommendation, which I can use to, when we go to the board, I want to say, make this purchase in budget with the recommendation of the Communications Commission. So that's priority one with me right now. So if you want to discuss that now, or it's up to you, Kathy.
Well, we've had these for quite a few weeks. Has everybody had a chance to review them? Have you any questions for Ted?
Ted, I have a question. Now, the higher bid, that has the desk you have in it.
Yeah, that's the higher bid has the desk. And I think this desk, they deal with some company. Advance couldn't find that specific desk, and they have another desk. He gave me the model number. I tried to call him today to get it again. He was busy. I didn't talk to him, but they're going to have their own. They have another desk that they recommend they put this on. So that's incidental because, as you know, we don't even need to buy a desk. We could stick it on a table. It's just that these desks are designed for the system, and they recommend doing. That's how they set it up. So basically, what's going to happen in the control room, we're going to take back. There's 5 sections in the control room back there. It's hard to believe we got that much in there, but the first 3 is what we call the console. That whole console will be removed, and all the old monitors are going to be out of there, and it'll be a 2-screen monitor system with the computer and everything on the desk. So it's going to be totally modern, totally different, and actually open up the room a little bit.
Now, Ted, is there any way you feel more comfortable working with Allner? Is that?
I know the technician. The technicians come here at a moment's notice. They put in all the. They're the ones that put this room in. They didn't design the room. This room was designed by a Minneapolis company called Electronic Interiors, and then we bid it out to local suppliers. I am more, to be honest with you, I'm very comfortable. I know the technicians personally. If I'm on my way home and something breaks, I can call the guy at home, and he, I have that kind of relationship with him. I've been out to training. You and I have been out there for demonstration. In fact, when we were looking for systems, Kathy and I went out to Thalner, and they were gracious enough at no cost to run us through everything we asked. I used them, and I used the word use. They came out here to assess our equipment at no cost. I have that kind of relationship with them. I'm just being honest, I don't know anybody that advanced, but their reputation, if you look at the last page on your packet there, and it says where to buy a new tech, and it says Elite Partners. If there's 4 of them under the Elite Partners, I sent requests for bids to 3 of them. The one I didn't was the one in Indiana. So, by the new tech company themselves, they're rated as an Elite Partner. So that's why I sent a bid to them. So I feel comfortable with them. I'm just telling you, I just felt more comfortable with Thalner. And they were very gracious. They actually showed up for the bid opening, And, you know, he bowed his head and apologized for me for being the highest bidder, so he's, you know, so, I mean, that's the kind of relationship I have with those guys, so.
He didn't sharpen his pencil.
Well, he claimed he sharpened his pencil before he brought the bid over, but obviously,
Obviously not.
obviously, well, I'll tell you the way he put it. He said they got me this time. I guess the last time they bid, they built the Clawson, Michigan, production studio and stuff, and I guess he beat them in Clawson, and you know, so they have an idea what each one of them's going to come in, and this guy beat them here, so you know.
Please.
I have a question, Ted. I mean, essentially the difference is $2,600. And I don't know if, I don't understand all of these different products. Have you compared, you know, what one offers for, I mean, it doesn't seem like there was a whole big difference. Are the quality of the products they're offering comparable? Are they the same?
Right, yeah, I was comfortable with, I don't, like I said, I don't know why there's a $2,000 difference or a 10% difference. And like I said, you know, the first reaction I got from Thalner is that, you know, it was a good bid, but he beat me, so.
And my second question is, and I guess this is to the commission, and I guess it's unfortunate that Lauren isn't here because this is a question she could maybe take to the board, is, you know, what is the value to us of the relationship that Ted has built with Thalner over the years? Is it worth $2,000? The fact that if something does go wrong and you're a one-man department, that you have contacts that you can call that will come in versus another company that may do the same, but we don't have that experience with them.
Well, and I think Richard probably knows a little bit about this. It's a brave new world out here because most of the stuff that you buy now for computers, they don't have to come.
Oh,
It's all on the internet and they can troubleshoot it from their own desk. They just log into your computer and they can actually troubleshoot and they actually do a lot of fixing just from, you know, bypassing this or reprogramming something, so they can do a lot of work without coming on site.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, getting them on site's an expensive proposition. If you know, Thalner's coming, well, they're both coming from an area, but Thalner's coming from Ann Arbor, so it's a $100 ticket just to have them show up.
okay.
You know, and a lot of this stuff right now that we have, they have to show up. But this new system, they'll actually be able to log into and fix it from the majority of stuff. I guess if we hit it with a hammer or something, they'd have to, you know, physically come here. But most of the problem shooting would be online.
Okay. Well, that's reassuring to know then, that you're comfortable either way.
Yeah, like I said, as soon as they were low, I called, and I've made 3 or 4 conversations with Sean at Advanced, and like I said, he assured me that he knew us and he knew the room, and that you know, that they're going to have 24/7. The warranty's the same, and the training's the same, and the services and everything is comparable. I'm just telling you up front, you know, what the history's been.
Well, it appears, do you want to say something, Sharon?
No, I was going to ask about the support. Was the support, it looked like it was pretty comparable. But I
Right.
was going to ask, and like that they say, Fulner says they have like the phone support also during the day. Do they have the same thing for Advanced?
I think they're both 24/7.
Okay.
For, you know, not on site. There's emergency fees and stuff.
Right.
Because they both met, the second page, right under the cover sheet of Advance, they included, that's the bid I sent out. So page 1 was their cover sheet to their bid, and I only left it there so that I can verify to you that there was a difference in the desk.
Right.
You know, and I haven't ruled out going somewhere else and finding it and see how cheap I can find the desk without going through them, because anytime you go through them, they're
Markup.
costing a
Right.
markup, and I might be able to find it online.
Did you have any references on this other advanced?
No. Other than the bid, and we didn't ask for references, and I said the only reason I went to them is because they were rated by the equipment that I wanted to buy as an elite dealer, so.
Well, it appears when you just compare apples to apples that the, excuse me, are you done, Sharon? Okay. That the TriCaster and the NewTek, they're obviously list price, and they have to sell them all.
Yeah.
Everybody has to sell them the same. So what they did is on the nickels and dimes.
Right.
And they just, bump this up, bump that up, and this guy maybe was a little hungry.
Sometimes companies will go bid a job just to
Yeah.
keep busy,
Well, but that's where, it's not on the big pieces, it's on the nickels and dimes, and it adds up to $2,000, and right now in this environment,
Yeah.
all things being the same, I think we should be prudent. Does anybody else feel?
Well,
any
before
differently?
I want you guys to, just as a reminder, and I'm sure you remember, we budgeted, graciously, the board allowed us this year to use $70,000 more than we normally use, all right? I don't have any qualms about using that money because it comes from the franchise fees that we normally don't use, all right? Right now, the franchise fees, just as a repeat, are around 180 to 190,000, and we budget to operate the department. My salary, the salary of all the workers I got, and everything else, usually around 110. So we're giving everything above 110 or 115 goes to the township, to the general fund. This year, we asked them, instead of doing that, let us use the franchise fees to upgrade everything. This is one of 3 planned upgrades. Before the year's done, we're going to hopefully, we're going to have to get this some sort of new switching system. The TriCaster is a necessity because the old Globalcaster died. The second will be the cameras. So you see these big, huge cameras here. We're going to get really small cameras, but that's not why we're doing it. We're going to upgrade from a 3-chip digital to high-definition cameras, which will, even though we're not going to be broadcasting from Comcast, WOW, and AT&T in high def, it will sharpen up the picture, and we're going to be at the latest technology, not this technology is from the 1990s. So we're going to upgrade that, and also we've been having problems with, the computer system for the cameras dying on us occasionally, and we have to jiggle this wire and rehook this wire. And actually, a months ago, Angie, who's directing tonight, actually during the broadcast had to unscrew everything and rewire the camera system during the broadcast. So I'm turning my technicians into engineers. So that's part 2. And the third part that I want to do is the way we send the signal out to WOW. It's called an airwave system, which we won't go out for bid because that's a single source item. And actually it's from Flellner, and it's single source. But that will allow us to send the signal out. And as I repeated many times, our Latronic system, we don't even own half of it. Our equipment's broken in Lansing, and the loaner that they gave me 3 years ago is still in there. So, no, I'm not going to let them know until
Till they can have it back.
until I can have it back.
Is there any downside, in your opinion, with going with the advanced?
Other for, unknown, not having a handshake. I mean, when Donner walks in, it's hi Paul, hi Art, hi, and I know about his kids and family and stuff like that. That's the confidence you have in that versus meeting new people. It's a new dealer.
But 10% still 10%, and
Yeah.
although the board has been generous, we should be prudent.
All right, well, that's been the hallmark of this department
Right.
anyway, so.
Right. So, would you like a motion? Do you want more discussion?
I'm just looking for a recommendation,
Okay.
I guess the only thing I wish that maybe we knew some other, if we knew of some other people that were using them,
I would like reference.
I would have felt, just
You can bring it up on your computer to check.
to see who
Let's see
they've,
if it works.
And likewise, what we can do is recommend, and in the meantime, before the next board meeting, Ted can get the recommendations.
That'd be great.
So we could move to recommend pending positive references.
There
so that
should be
the board has
references
to-
right on the internet if we can bring it up.
Yeah.
I'm not connected either.
Ted, can you bring up the internet on your?
Yeah, he couldn't bring it up in the car. Did they change the password or something
What?
on the internet here? Yeah, I've got totally,
That's what I had the problem with.
yeah. Limited access. Let's try Grosse Hill too. No. Could it be the weather?
No, not.
Oh, we've got something up here.
That looks like an email.
Do you have it?
Rosio Connect.
Yeah,
Okay.
Grosse Hill Township. Not Connect, Grosse Hill Township. Is there a new one?
That's what I use on my phone and it works.
Nope, mine still doesn't. When the gentleman was in the other day, did he do anything with the internet setup? No?
If you just unplug the access point for 60 seconds, plug it back in, it might work.
No, that's beyond our area here.
Yeah.
This thing's locked up.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a valid point, Uta. And you would know this, that why don't we, if everybody agrees, go with the lesser and check the references, and if the references don't come into our satisfaction,
I'll tell you what, if you go with, if that's what you want to do, I'll have references included in the packet to the
That'd be
board.
good.
Because the board, that'll have to be, I think by the end of next week I'll get them, but I can get references and I can email them to you and you
Great.
can send them out.
send them out to everybody. That'd be great, because I think we'd all be more comfortable.
yeah.
Okay, so there's your recommendation.
My 3G might be letting me access a site on my phone.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you try that, it would be helpful.
Okay.
If you can get any feedback on advanced lighting and sounds. Good for you. Mine dead.
You have a smartphone?
I don't have a smartphone either.
Well, if it's any encouragement, they pop right up on Google.
Oh, well.
They're the first one.
Here we go.
Well, they also pay, the first ones usually pay for
I see.
advertising.
Okay, there goes my naivete again. Okay, so advanced lighting and sound homepage.
Well, that's their page.
Where do I want to go?
What I would, probably this would be too lengthy, but what I would suggest is Ted find out, ask them for 5 references, take the last 3 that they offer, not the first 2.
If you just type in their name, and then you type in
References.
reviews or
Review.
references.
Yeah.
For their-
Reviews
yeah.
will give you the same thing.
I like somebody's name signed against, then I know if they're,
Yeah, no,
if they're standing behind it, you know, or
They're
they're,
just for now, yeah.
yeah. It's amazing what you can do now in a meeting.
Yellow pages. Okay. Actually, I should just let Richard do this. I only have 14% left on my battery, so I'm just wasting it by goofing around.
Yeah, on your screen there, can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
There's churches they've done.
Oh,
Outside. But I think we'd all be comfortable seeing something in writing or an internet note giving a reference.
Here we go, reviews and more advanced. From Detroit Local Business Directory. If you can get that bigger, that's the information.
Oh, this is the sites. Let's see, here's their thing.
How many stars do they get? It should show you the number of stars. There it is. How many stars?
Where do you see that, right here?
Right there.
Oh, 5.
I think
Looks
it's
like
five.
they're 5, but they're not filled in, but I'm not sure.
Oh, they're not filled in?
So I don't know if
That
any of them are.
means nobody's given any
No
references
one's given
for
that. Okay.
We'll go, yeah, if you could do that, Ted, and like I
Yeah,
said,
I'll
ask
call.
them, and usually,
I'll call him. I got a meeting in the morning.
that'd be great.
I'll call him before.
Then I think we'd all be more comfortable.
And is
I
this
would
the same?
be.
Ted, is this the same company, Advanced Lighting and Sound in Troy, Michigan?
That's where they're located.
Okay.
Alrighty. Why don't you continue, Ted?
Okay, other than that, we've been doing all kinds of, like I said, we're on Plan B on almost every system right now. Starting with the school, we went over to the school and tore down everything they had and pulled the old equipment out, rewired it, and we have an issue that we're working with Comcast. We have good sound until we get to the Comcast transmitter, and nobody's getting any sound for Comcast, and I'm arguing with them that we're sending them sound, but he's saying we're not. So I've got Chris Johnson, their technician's going to come out next week, and we're going to hash it out. The school boards have been having trouble sending sound out, and I keep going over there and trying to fix it. And like I said, we totally tore the whole room apart and redesigned it, took all unnecessary wires and equipment out. And
You did that in April, didn't you?
well, that's when we started.
Yeah.
It's finished, but we're having a sound issue over there. So the other thing with the school, and I think Lauren started to do this. Tony and I have had a few preliminary conversations. The last part of the upgrade, when I talked about transmitting our signal, cablecasting our signal, I would really like the board and the school board to get together and hash things out and see, are we going to marry the services? In my opinion, it would make tremendous sense for the school to broadcast out of this room. I mean, the quality would jump immediately. They wouldn't have to invest any more money in their equipment. Their sound system, it's been a portable sound system that we bought right after I started working on the island, which was probably '97, and that system was for about 4 or 5 years hiked from one building to another building. It's now 15 years old and it's starting to crackle. It's a portable sound system. So they need to invest some money in that. And they do not have a capability of sending the broadcast out more than live. The equipment that they can send it out, it's an old VCR attached to a three generation ago Latronics unit, and it's not working, so they can only show their meetings on purpose with somebody walking down there enforcing it. They can't do it at 7:30 every night or 10:30 every night. They don't have the automatic capability. That's a $10,000 issue. The sound system's probably $4,000 or $5,000 issue. And so we talked about them coming here. They have actually even brought it up, but it's not moving. It's not going anywhere. Which the problem I'm going to have is, if I buy this airwave system, that's good to send out our channel. But if the school's going to be involved, we have to get an upgraded airwave system, which allows us to send multiple channels out. And it's a lot cheaper buying it and installing it than buying it and have somebody coming out and adding to it. So there's like a $4,000 difference. The other cost that would come to the school is, I don't know what Comcast or WOW would charge to bring their head in to our head in. All right, you know, I don't know what they would charge, but that would be the cost. But anyway, the discussion needs to take place, and a decision needs to be done before we purchase our equipment, which I'd like to do in the fall.
Was it not a subcommittee formed? If I'm not
I think
mistaken?
they had an initial meeting,
It was a dinner meeting.
and then
My
a
understanding.
couple people were gonna talk, but it really, nothing has pushed forward on that. And I don't know if it could go from you to Tony Krukowski or you to Bill Ice, but some discussion needs to be done and saying,
I'll give Tony.
are you interested in coming here? Because they actually, the school people actually brought it up to me initially. And, you know, so my question is, are we going to, you know, rather than spend money 2 or 3 times,
Right.
you know, buy them something, upgrade us, and then decide we're going to put it together, I was hoping that maybe we could talk that issue out before, actually, we're no rush to have it to be the fall because our fiscal year ends in March. But if it could take place and we could make a decision before the end of this year, then we could,
Well, it'd be conducive probably to the school too, because, you know, they ramp up for the fall
Right.
and all that.
I know they like their autonomy over there. It's just, but they also would like to, you know, communicate better. And it's gonna, they have not been willing, because of their budgetary constraints, to put a lot of money in that. Most of the equipment that they've been running on is stuff that we replaced and I took it over there, you know, and just,
Remember the Granicus meeting you and I were at?
yeah.
And there was discussion about if we get this, can they have that?
Yeah.
So I'll give them a call. We'll just see what their focus is. Are they leaning this way? Are they not? Eventually, everybody has to change with the
Oh, I
personal
agree. I mean,
constraints.
and it's, you know, the caveat on this is that it's what the state wants us to do. The state wants to
Sure.
see more cooperation between government entities, and here's 2 government entities right here on the island, and basically you're serving the same constituents.
Right.
It'd be,
Do we know the cost, though, that the school would need to initially get in with us?
no,
Wants to add
I
that?
have not called WOW or Comcast to see what they would do. I haven't, I'd like them to say we're interested. You know, they
Right.
ask the question and that's all. So if they say they're interested, I'll do the phone calls. You know,
Ted, is there any downside to it?
other than one more meeting in this,
2.
well, they have 2 meetings, but
Oh.
one of them's a business
Right,
meeting and
it's
they
not
don't
broadcast.
televise. So, you know, for right now, I think they meet on Tuesdays, and all our Tuesdays we are broadcasting, but, you know, we have open space, bike committee, DPS, and ZBA on Tuesday. And it would just be a matter of either one of those meetings moving, or them moving to a Wednesday or a Thursday or something like that.
I really think, too, if we could give them some kind of a ballpark number, that may make it easier for them to make a decision, because so much comes down to their budget and what they have to work with at this point. So maybe if we gave them some kind of a, you know, a figure that might help them to make a decision faster.
Well, if Comcast and WOW doesn't charge us, there'd be very little cost, if none. I think the only cost would be rewiring it, and it's to the point where, you know, all these fiber optics that Comcast they're all being underutilized. There's a lot, they can all carry a lot more signal than we're sending on them, so it might be just a matter of point of, you know, changing something at their head end, you know.
Is it the school board who would be the ultimate decision maker in this, or would it be?
Well, I know Supervisor Loftus has expressed interest in merging the 2.
Well, isn't that really the level that this conversation should be taking place?
Well, that you guys know more than me. I was thinking if somebody can prod the
Get the
discussion,
ball started.
get the ball rolling, and then maybe go to the board and say, listen, there's interest, here's the advantage, here's the negative, and maybe then the board and the school board could get together and decide. And there's, you know, like I said, Lauren has
Yeah, they have a
started the
subcommittee.
ball, but it's kind of, there's been no movement on it in the last
Well,
8, 9, 10
perhaps she
weeks.
is working on it now, and we're just not aware of it.
All right, well.
It's something we can pursue that, too.
I'm just bringing it up from the vantage point that
Okay.
when I'm ready to make the purchase for the last piece,
Okay.
those factors are in my mind that I would like some kind of so remember, the whole reason I'm doing this is because I want the township to be up to date now, looking forward,
Right.
you know? And right now, we're behind trying to catch up with up to date.
Yeah.
So,
Good
if
point.
we can make those kinds of decisions, you know, then the next 5, 10 years, we're looking good
Mm-hmm.
technology-wise.
Or 3 years. It goes so fast
Oh, yeah.
anymore. And do you want to talk about the user policy?
What you,
The policy that was approved?
no, I had no comment on it, it's fine. I've changed it on the webpage, so.
I do have a comment about that, though. Did the board then, the township board, adopt the policy that we recommended?
Yes.
Has the township board given any direction, and again, this is probably a question for Lauren, on a township employee use policy, or, you know, how the township intends to use the website, which also leads to the, you know, one of the items we have here today on which system we ultimately contract to do it, is if the township has, what its expectations are for who is going to manage, who needs to have access.
To my knowledge, there has been no discussion or no decision or any movement since the day they okayed the policy. I don't think there's been other things on the plate, and nobody's
Yeah,
discussed
and I
that.
realize that
Actually-
the board itself has had, you know, some fairly big, important issues before it. And I know that an RFP was done, and certain information was put into the RFP of what was wanted and desired. But I think we keep getting hung up on a conversation about the content management system and what it means. And I think it depends on how the township board and the employees intend on using the website that makes the difference whether or not we actually need to go for content management, or if we can go for a simpler non-content management system.
Like I said, since the board voted on the policy, I don't think, I mean, there's been
Well-
nothing at the manager level, from the managers' meetings, and I don't think that anything's been spoken in study sessions or anything. I may be wrong, but
Yeah,
to
there
my
was-
knowledge.
There was a conversation at study.
After this?
No, the night of that.
Yes,
The-
but since then, there has
Yeah.
been no
To my
discussion.
knowledge, no, I was only at that one meeting, and there was an interesting discussion, and I did verify this with the township manager to make sure I wasn't misspeaking my interpretation, but, and I think if I could be corrected tonight by our audience member. But I think the fact was, pretty much, with one exception, most of the board did not feel the need to directly access, and I think that's a correct statement. One person definitely wanted direct access, but the prevailing theme I felt in the room was they did not. There was discussion about content management for employees, and there were pros and cons, and I think there was an issue at point where I think we all realized if somebody went too quickly to post something, it could be a problem, and I think there was a problem recently with something being posted on the internet that went pretty viral quickly, but there was no determination as far as I could see, and as far as I verified that with the township manager. He did not feel there was a
Consensus, maybe, or?
it didn't seem like it was stopped. It seemed like it stopped. There was discussion, and it was only like a 20-minute, half-hour meeting. But, you know, and it might be the first time some of them have ever heard the term content management. I mean, how many people know about this? So it was discussed, and I did verify that that's the feedback our township manager felt too, because I didn't want to misspeak this. You know, I don't want to have an opinion. I want to do what's right for the township. So,
I think too, what is, in addition to the content management decision, which will come up when we
Yeah.
talk about the different consultants in the RFP, the other point that I think is very important to get back to is what Richard at one point showed Kathy and I was the easy ability to actually go in and change some of the code and upload code, terms that many of us may not be familiar with out in the community. Well, probably anyone under 40 knows a lot more, but certainly not in my group. That he showed us, I think is important for us to verify that whoever gets this contract, that whatever the cost, we need to be careful that
Security.
we have security.
yeah, we can't, but it took you 5 minutes to hijack the website?
Took about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We don't want to have that happen. And so that will, we have to consider that with
You work
whoever
for
we choose.
NSA or what?
It was amazing. It was one of our 4 study sessions that we had, but anyways, valid points nonetheless. So are you done, Ted?
Well, I just wanted to, just a couple other things.
Well, but if you're going on to something else, can I just
Yeah,
want to
go ahead.
ask, for our next meeting, if it's possible, and I have to admit, I won't be here in July, so possibly for our August meeting, or at least for whoever's making the decision in July, if there is a meeting, even though I'm not able to be here, that we look at the 4 preferred RFP vendors with an eye toward the security and the cost-benefit analysis of the security and the content management and a cost analysis of the content management system. How much more does that end up costing? And so we can make a decision, is it worth to spend the money for the security or whatever the balance ends up being? That, something like that would certainly help me to make a more informed decision. So kind of a Cliff's Notes version, content management for dummies.
Just to answer part of your question, you always have to remember, even with security, there's no guarantee
Yeah.
that the site can't be hijacked.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how good that other person is.
Or if you get 2 at the same time,
Well,
like
you
I
get
did.
2.
Yeah, it's still a month later. I'm still not clean. It's amazing what they can do to your computer.
Yeah, well, and even emails are easily, hacked.
The important thing, though, is any person we pick, if we use Java, it's less secure. And
I don't think any of them had Java,
one did.
but I don't think any of
I
them.
don't think any of the ones that we were looking at did.
Well, we're getting off base. Let's have Ted finish and then we'll get back.
Okay, just to wrap up, this weekend we should have 3 or 4 of the Island Fest projects done. We taped 10 different things during that weekend, from the art show to the Kali Hooper Yan finishing the marathon, the parade. Kathy was on the talent part of the parade this time. We did most of the Grosse Seal stuff at the Grosse Seal Children's Choir, Dance Grosse Seal, jazz band, fireworks, middle school jazz band, and I'm not sure what the children's act on Sunday was, but we taped that. So we should have 10 different shows out of Island Fest, and they'll should start showing this weekend. I'm going to take Friday off. Some of the girls I coach have made the state finals in softball, so I'm going to Battle Creek to cheer them on. You mentioned the July meeting. If the meeting's at 7 o'clock, I can't make it. If we can move it to 5 or earlier, I can, but the July meeting I'm going to have trouble making. I should have no problem for August, September, and October. The November meeting, I'd like to move up to the first week because the second week I wouldn't be able to make it. And so just looking in the future, that's kind of my schedule. So I wanted to inform you of that.
Thank you.
And trying to think, there was one more thing. Well, my Alzheimer's kicked in, so you guys are lucky.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Ted. And great job on Island Fest. We have 2 resignations, and I want to read. It's with great sadness, too, because Mr. Payton wrote me the night of our last meeting after I got home, so I couldn't bring it to you earlier. He truly does not believe he has the time for this because he works in Auburn Hills. And being a vice president, he can't leave at 5 o'clock to get to these meetings. So he wanted to make a difference, and he thanked the committee for allowing him to serve, and know that I did enjoy my time while I was here. And as stated in our phone conversation, please feel free to contact me. So if you'd like to discuss any past issues that I might have insight to or would like to bounce an idea off of. So it's really, it's a shame. He only got to make 2 meetings in almost 2 years. So, what can you do? So do I have a motion to accept Sean's resignation?
I thought you were making the motion,
No.
so I will so move.
Thank you. And second?
I second.
Do we have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay. And then Mr. Arndt, and I know he's been hanging on for a long time, his business has just, he was going to be our secretary and he couldn't do it. So he sent me, he goes, "Hi Kathy, my work schedule is as busy as ever, so I will not be able to attend the meetings in the future as I am resigning my position." We just got that yesterday. So it's a shame. But business is good, so that's good. But what can you do when people are, time is always the issue, I think, for everybody nowadays. And I know how far you travel, Luta. So do I have a motion to accept?
I motion to accept.
Sharon, and second?
I'll second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Alrighty. So that means we have 2 available positions for people who have time and interest to be on the Communication Commission. I will be writing something for the Yale Camera to advertise, and hopefully we'll get some more wonderful people.
And I think you only have to be 18 to apply to be a commissioner. So we're hoping also some of our tech-savvy young people on the island, the kids that go to college in the area, might be interested in joining.
Well, and on that same motion, being tech-savvy, since we are immersed in this website, I decided to get a little more tech-savvy myself, and I went back to college. And I am now a co-ed again, and I'm taking web design. So hopefully, within a month, I think 5 weeks, I will have completed my class and have a lot more knowledge to help with making the decisions, and maybe we won't be kind of as lost. And it's hard. It's very hard, and I'm hoping that some of those kids in my class maybe will come, but I'm doing it online. But it's something I thought I'd share with you. It's been really interesting, and it's eye-opening. And it's thanks to Mr. Nielsen, who encouraged me repeatedly to broaden my knowledge of this, so I have. Lastly, a couple things. Look forward to Yale Camera. New date and time. We talked about it last time a little bit, and I'm just wondering, is Wednesday a bad day for us, or is the second Wednesday of the month bad? Is there a better time? I'm trying to find a time that I know 7's got to be for you, but is there a better time of the month? Is the third week better on Wednesday? Is it Tuesday better? Is there something that would be easier to help? I mean, you have an active schedule. You have an active schedule. I'm flexible as heck. Richard?
No,
My schedule is pretty much flexible right
Okay.
now.
So,
and I would say for me that this works pretty well.
all right. I just want to make sure. We want to be flexible, and that's the whole point. We did this to be flexible when Pam was our liaison. So, okay, fine. So I'm taking classes. The top 4 companies. I thought we discussed this at length. Why don't we start interviewing them just to see what they have to say, how we get the feel of them? And our top 4 were MuniWeb, ePro, Revise, and Civic Plus. And I thought I would contact them if we vote on it tonight and start the ball moving, and we could ask them questions about security. We could start getting in depth with it, and we can ask them.
Peek over
Here you
your
go.
shoulder.
I have them numbered.
Can you say the list one more time? I missed the first one.
MuniWeb,
UniWeb.
ePro, Revise, and Civic Plus. They all fit our criteria. This is when we had everybody give their opinion. I am including Mr. Arntz because he was a member at the time, and he had an opinion, and I want to include that. But I thought I'd call them up and either get them to come in or do a phone interview, and I'd find the times out, and we could perhaps meet. And I would suggest we do it, it would be during the week, but maybe I could do some kind of conference call or do a webinar or something. I'll see what I can produce to make it easier for everybody, just to listen and have
We
exchanges.
could do Skype.
Skype, okay. I don't have Skype, but I'm sure I can get Skype. But, let's see what we can do, and it's just to hear what they have to say, what their pitch is. So, and then we can start formulating our questions, and it's a process. And it's a lot of money, and we have to be, so does everybody feel?
I'd like to actually make a suggestion about that. Bob had suggested at one point that we have our meetings over Skype, and obviously it does create some Open Meetings Act issues, but I'm thinking that if two of you, say,
Okay.
the chairperson and another commission member did an interview or a phone conference call over Skype or over the phone, that would not violate any kind of open meetings, and you could report back to the full commission. And that might fit with schedules better, too. Maybe have Ted, the chair, and one of the commissioners
Okay.
available. And that way, we're not even risking an open meetings violation.
Absolutely.
And we will all still get access to the information that you've gleaned.
Okay, and if you have any specific questions that you're thinking of, you could forward them to me, and then, we can arrange for something. And that's a great idea. And then we could sit there and share it later on.
So it should be the same 3 people then, listening to each
Yeah.
of the 4,
Yeah.
right?
I would think so. That way, everybody has a different interpretation. and-
Right, right.
But it would be consistent. That'd be great. And I'll get started on that Monday. Got to finish up my class this week. And see what I can do for appointments and things like that. And if they must have Skype capabilities.
They probably have Skype.
I kind of, okay, so we're good on that. So we're moving forward, and we can interview them and see what they have and how they would handle it if it wasn't content management, or if it includes. We can have either or with them and talk to them
Yeah.
about it.
Richard, question just came into my mind. My laptop has a camera on it. It can record. Can you record a Skype and play it back at a meeting?
You can if you have the permission of both parties.
Okay. I'm wondering if that's something that would be possible for,
But if you recorded it, you want to be able to record it on a computer that you can share it with.
exactly, yeah, okay. Just an idea.
Something to look forward to, okay. On a personal note, there was a new organization started on Grosse Ile, and it was its inaugural night last night. It was We Kayak, and it was a great success. Just a little something. Okay, and I am done with my points, and let's go back to the agenda.
Can I go back for a
Certainly.
second? I wanted to bring this up, and Kathy referenced it very vaguely, but it's something that I don't have the answer to, but I want to raise a couple questions. A week ago, there was an incident at the school that was immediately sent out to all the parents, an email alerting them to it. That message was immediately grabbed by a Facebook user and put out on Facebook, which was immediately grabbed by the Il Camera and put out to all their Facebook users, which was immediately picked up by the Detroit Free Press and put on their webpage. The problem was, by the time it got to the Free Press, it was proven to be untrue. I didn't know that. I called the police department and I said, Chief, do you want to put out an official notice from the township concerning this issue? And he said, yeah, I want to put out that it's not true. So he sent me a notice, which we put up on our Facebook, and we put up on the webpage saying that this issue was not validated and it was false. The problem is that through the picking it up with the parents, and all the parents immediately, in that you can't, the school was protecting themselves. But in today's age of social media, anybody can pick up any information and post it, all right? Well, the first Facebook user that posted was patting themselves on the back because over 3,000 people were notified through the Facebook, because whoever runs the Facebook page gets a notification of how many people saw their message. Well, I immediately went to our Facebook, and we had only hit 1,200. So there were 1,800 people that had seen that message, thinking it's true, but didn't see the retraction.
Good point, Ted.
So, like I said, I don't have the answers, but my feeling is that each one of the township departments is going to have to take charge of their information quicker. So the police department, as soon as the incident came up, may have to issue an initial statement saying, we are investigating such and such an incident. We do not have all the answers. Stay tuned to this information location for further upgrades. People are communicating quicker and faster, and we might have to stop. Like I said, we're chasing the future. We might have to, as managers and elected officials, have to get on top of situations quicker. Now, to this day, after we set the retraction, as of today, 2,800 people had seen our retraction. But that's still far less than the initial over 3,000 that saw it. And I never saw a retraction on the Free Press. The ill camera did put a retraction on, copy our retraction, and their counts were included in our total counts that saw it. But what the danger is, I just wanted to bring up to the communications department, is we probably have to educate ourselves and educate managers and people that be how dangerous information can be, and how, to this day, 500-600 people never saw the retraction, so there's probably legends out there of whatever, what the incident was that people haven't seen. So I just wanted to bring that up for your information and thought, and maybe someone can come up with an answer. But we're going to have a managers meeting tomorrow. I'm going to bring up that at the managers meeting. And I really think we're going to have to learn. Maybe there's a course or a class on how to get on top of situations. Because nowadays, just a simple letter from the superintendent of schools to the parents was picked up and shot out there, and within an hour, it was on the Free Press webpage. And like I said, I never saw the Free Press print a retraction. So you had some comment?
Well, actually I do, because I am the parent of a middle schooler, and you bring this up, and I received that email, and it was sent early in the morning, maybe 9 o'clock, 9:30-ish, and the retraction came out by about 1:30-ish. And it was addressed to all the parents at the middle school. And I had no idea there was anything else being put out by anybody else. But my first response was not to go on Facebook. My first response was not to check the township website either. My first response was to, talk to my husband, wait till my kid came home, take the message from the school at its value, and as they said, wait for updates. But this takes me back to the point about the township board and administration setting a use policy for the webpage. What kind of information does the township administration and board legitimately have a reason to put out on its webpage, and what kind of information is beyond it? So in this case, I would say the school was handling its issue, and the police chief certainly had an avenue through the township website as the public safety officer. But for anybody else at the township to grab onto that sort of a message, I feel would have been inappropriate. There are other situations where the township board and the administration have a very good cause to put out a message alerting residents to a potential problem, but what are those lines, and who's going to take them? So we have a board member in the audience, but he said he's here as a resident, but I think the warning is to avoid the hair trigger. You don't look like a hero by being the first to get something out there. You know, if the township takes over the role of a news organization, it has to verify the information and be accurate and be accountable, just like any other real news organization would have to be. So again, it all comes down to the use policy, not just what we post on our webpage for the people using our website, but the policy that's in place by the people who actually manage and maintain the website, to say, these are the guidelines. You know, this is post, this is don't post, this is ask, this is shoot it higher up the food chain, have somebody else, you know, make a decision whether or not this is appropriate.
The only problem is, excuse me, the only problem is if you have 4 different people or 5 different people, and everybody has different sensibilities, and there's no way to, as one of the vendors I spoke with, he said, the more people you get involved doing that,
Yeah.
the more disjoined the website appears, because everybody writes differently, everybody has different sensibilities, different talents, and what one person might say, well, that's fine, the other one would go, oh no, I better ask. So to instill that, I think it's not going to originate at Grosse Seal Township. It's going to originate, as Ted said, there might be some school, some class coming down, as they have with sexual harassment classes, and there'll be standardizations down the road because, as you also said, we are chasing technology.
Well, let me offer this little history lesson, and I'll make it relevant in this. You know, about a century and a half ago, somebody came up with a great idea of getting information from St. Louis to San Francisco, and they put a whole bunch of people on horses and ran them across the country continually, and they thought it was a great idea, and it was the modern thing to do, and then all of a sudden somebody stuck a lot of poles up and connected a wire from St. Louis to San Francisco, and in 18 months the original idea was obsolete, and people started getting their information over the wire. And we're almost to that situation on the web page and social media. People are not coming to our web page to get the alerts, and we're putting them up there as a service, but people are coming to our web page strictly for information, where to vote, where to pay their bill, who's in charge of what, can I get a form. They're not looking for, you know, news alerts, and they're not looking for it on a day-to-day basis. We get, and Ann right now is amassing the data, but every Monday I get a web page user report. And actually the main people that are using our web page are the realtors, looking up tax information. So they're not really coming to our web page to find out that there was an incident at the middle school. They go to social media.
And that's where
That's immediate, because when I send out that notice that the bridge is closed from 9 o'clock this morning to 3 o'clock this morning, they're not going to go to the webpage and find it. They're going to pick up their phone, and their Facebook message or their Twitter message is going to tell them.
Yeah.
And that's how today's generation, and which is different from 5 years ago.
Right,
So
remember,
when we started talking about the webpage, we were talking about the Pony Express.
Right.
Somebody has wired the country up differently, and the ponies are obsolete.
well, think about the way things used to be. Something as simple, and I don't know if everybody's old enough to remember this, but there's some people in the room. You had a string and 2 cans. It was called telephone.
Yeah, well.
And before you know it, if you had 3 people on it, the story at the beginning was different than the story at the end.
Well,
You know?
that's exactly what I'm saying. People want their information
Yeah.
Immediate.
wherever they are. They don't want to have to go to the information. They want the information to come to them, and the new technology through Instagram and Tumblr and LogMeIn, and I mean, it's on and on and on and on. We use Facebook and Twitter, because everything we put on Facebook goes on Twitter.
But now they're changing things, and this is from my class. The way you even present information is different now. You have to present it in bullet points. You highlight the most important item first, everything so it fits on the mobile phones. Because the mobile people, and which is becoming more and more, do not want to read. They want to scan.
Yeah, it's
And-
140 characters, that's
Yeah.
all, they want 140 characters and forget it.
And the way it's presented has to be, the first thing has to be very important, and then you go into detail, and if you have any links at all, then the background, you link somewhere else. Less and less content in the data, and that way you don't have to worry about copywriting. But even the form, there's a certain form, they call it, and I knew it when I took my test last week, but I forget the term right now.
See, Kathy, we don't, see that, you're right, 100% right, but this commission in my department
Right.
is not in charge of that.
Right.
We are the vehicle that the police department, that the water department,
Thank
that Bill,
You're right.
that Mr. Loftus and Dale put out. All right, we're not in any way responsible for composing it,
Right.
Right.
because Uta will tell you how bad a speller I am. But we are,
Disperse
what we have to do
Yes, disperse.
as a commission and a department is understand the best priority today of getting that message out.
But,
We have to
but
disperse.
Ted, your point today actually, and I'm really again sad that Lauren's not here to hear this, because I think it really focuses the laser point on the main issue, is when it comes to our website, one, it is not a news organization, it's not a news site, it doesn't need to be.
It's an encyclopedia.
It's an encyclopedia, and who needs that instant trigger access to the website, if anything, is, you're absolutely right, the police chief, the fire chief, the township administrator, manager, supervisor. But you raise the other issue. We have a township Facebook account, we have a township Twitter account. You get a trigger finger on one of those things. Remember, if it's put out in the name of the township does become responsible for that content.
Well, this last incident, I called Chief Porcerelli. Chief said, put this up. I said, and this is how I try to operate. I said, Chief, write what you want down exactly the way you want it down. I'll put that up. I didn't want to be,
appropriate.
I didn't want to be responsible for wording it wrong or insensitively or et cetera. So, and also, I can't remember there was with the accident in the township, when the township put their response out of their official statement, literally Dale and Mr. Loftus went over it, in the
Yes.
afternoon and overnight and checked it, and it was an official statement, word for word, that they composed, I just put up.
Okay.
So we're not in
I
any
see
way.
it, yeah, valid,
My
very
message is we don't compose it.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
right.
just putting up, be it a clerk's notice or a township notice or a police notice, word for word, what they want up.
But in the future, they
So we're not
will,
responsible.
We're not responsible, but I think our responsibility lies in communicating to the public and the board how important it is that a policy be in place that limits or describes how these tools are to be used,
I
so
totally agree.
that the
But-
township does limit its exposure to these kind of, whoever put this out on the Facebook, I doubt it was a township employee or
No,
a township
no,
board member. So, but what if it had been, and that would have been the horror, right? And a policy wouldn't make a difference there one way or the other, except that it says, well, gosh, we thought about this, and we really didn't want people to have this kind of access.
Well, I'm just suggesting, and I apologize, I'll be done
I'm
here.
sorry.
I'm just suggesting that somehow, maybe us, maybe you guys as individuals, maybe it's my responsibility, we have to convey to the township board and the township managers, it's a new day. And not only do we have to watch how we put the information up, but it seems to me it's becoming more and more about the timing of it. So there might be, like I said, maybe we need to get a course in it and learn initial statement, follow-up statement, final statement, maybe, because maybe if the township immediately at 9:30 put out a statement, there's an incident at the middle school, it's being investigated, no we have no further details, we'll put them up as soon as we can. That way, we'd be on top of it, and the police department would say, we're in charge, there's an uncertainty, we're not going to make any further statement.
And I think, too, that for a website, there would be, if I'm heading a certain department, if I'm the person responsible for my department for posting whatever my information is, I think my general responsibility would just be to update times of things and things like that. I don't think I should have access to putting up any big, broad statements for the township. So there has to be a way to control that only certain people, like the police chief, who would then come to you or whoever it is to say, we need to have this information put out there, would have that, would have that opportunity. Most people would just be in a department posting their times of their meetings or whatever data they would need to represent. So I don't think that they should have access to just putting whatever they want.
Well,
I don't think it's usually like that either.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that the way we look at the webpage today is different than when we looked at the webpage in 208 and 204.
Right.
All right?
Yeah.
That the webpage is no longer priority one on the way this township is going to communicate with its citizens. The township owns a radio station at the police department that we paid good. Remember, right after FINA, we got they took commission funds and put a radio station, 1700. And I'll bet you, and I'll go on a limb, I'll bet you nobody listens to it. Or when you want to hear?
When the weather goes bad,
Okay.
right? When the weather goes bad.
That's only, it's got a radio feed to it, and no department uses it. I've even suggested that we go broadcast the game on the island by calling it and tell it, just to use it. But that was, in 2001, a very good avenue to communicate. So what I'm suggesting to use the webpage is not, we're going to spend some money on it, but it's not the top priority for communications. It's a Encyclopedia Britannica in your house to find out anything you want to know about the township, and we can put information there that people can come back and verify.
Right. It's
But
a
the
support.
initial contact now
Right.
is smartphones, iPads, iPods, social media.
Well,
And that's what we have to be concerned about.
Ted, you bring up Adafina, and why
Yes.
did we go with the 1700 AM? That was given to us, but
Yeah.
why AM and why? Well, the other aspect of this is so many people can still get a transistor radio. They can get these frequencies. This is a localized frequency. You're not going to. You'll get the frequency elsewhere. You won't get any Broceel messages. But in an emergency, when people say are down to battery power and they don't have an ability to turn on or power a computer, they could still power a radio or a little transistor radio or a hand crank radio. And so a message could still get out to them about when the all clear was being sounded, et cetera. This is before we had the sirens.
Well,
in
we even
place.
had a technical problem with that because at the time, we were thinking in terms of car radio. And the signal goes almost to 75, and every once in a while, if the wind's blowing right, it goes up to Wyandotte. And the farthest I picked it up is the corner of the airport at Middlebelt and Eureka. I have picked it there, but the problem is if you cut across Middlebelt or you cut across Eureka, you pick up 1700 Westland. That's, they have this same system. But the problem at that point is most transistor radios only went up to 1600, and most car radios at the time were just starting to go to 1700. So we even had a communications problem when we got the radio station. But like the point is that when we discuss the webpage and we discuss it, some people, and trust me, Ann's got all the accounts, and I can email.
Oh, yeah.
I get a report every Monday on how using it. The hits on the webpage are realtors,
And it's down.
And it's down, and we're not getting.
How about you post that on our webpage so
Well, on
everyone
every
has
page,
access
the
to
average
see it?
person can click
Yes.
on the site meter, and you
You
can
can go
read
to the
it.
site meter, read it.
You can site meters on almost every page, and you can go read it.
And remember, I think it was in the March meeting, March or April, I think March, I took all the information from Ann that she had for a couple months, and in the previous year, there was a lot more activity because the assessments on the property and all that, the change, and now they're kind of comfortable with it, and nobody's really looking at it. It was down dramatically, and I don't remember, I'll have to reference my notes, but it's astounding how little it is used for, and there's a plethora of information on this. I mean, when you want to find something, and I'm amazed. Remember that time I went through every page to see how many pages you were monitoring? What was it, 400 and something?
With all the links and everything.
Right, it was
you
like
go to
400
different-
pages of information. Who knew? I mean, I just kept clicking and writing and keeping track. And so, and you're right, as we said, 2 years ago when we had that one company come in to give us a bid on the computer, on the web page. Had we gone with that, we would have been outmoded because the way they were the newest and the greatest visual look, and within 6 months, that look is outmoded.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Please.
The township, you were saying, has a Facebook page too, correct? So the Facebook page is what the social media is all about. And you just said that on the Facebook, you issued a retraction to what happened.
Right.
When there's a major crisis or like the bridge is closed, is that put on the Facebook page?
But whatever information that the township sends me, we had the information up about the ship at Edison. We had the information about the I-75 construction starting in April. We have information up there about what Fort Street's got some problems right now. We had, I just took it down about the flushing of the hydrants. Yeah, any department memo that they want everybody to know, they send it to me, and I put it out, A on Facebook and Twitter, and B on the webpage.
Okay, so if we were setting up the new web page to be allowed access to department heads, if we didn't set it up that way and we allowed them to have access to Facebook so they could put out a quick statement, like if the police chief wanted to, he could use Facebook. Is that a possibility, or?
Chief Rosarelli has the username and password to get on Facebook,
Okay.
but he usually just calls me and has me do it.
So that's what I was figuring.
Does Chief Murdoch also?
Chief Murdoch, well, I told them, everybody at the managers meeting that needed to know, and they took it down, but
So if a manager needed to get that information out very
And-
quickly,
and,
they could use the Facebook
and
page.
the one that I
And that
know,
is the social media.
yeah, Carol, I think Carol has the information, Mr. Loftus has the information, and Deputy Clerk Gray has the information. I know.
So we don't really need to have the Groseal's webpage to be immediately set up to do.
That's what I'm suggesting.
That's what I'm
That's a good
thinking
point.
as well.
Excellent point.
I'm suggesting that the web page has
Be more
now
like an
become
encyclopedia.
the last source of information.
And that makes sense.
That's an excellent point.
That the new sources of information. And just so you know, the day that we put this incident happened, we jumped from 603 users to 635 users, which was our number one day jumping for people that have liked us and now are listening to our webpage. So over the course of since Christmas, we've gone from 550 to 635, so it continues to go up. So right now, if we had an information, it would go out to 600, I assume 635 families.
And I like what you're saying, excuse me, I like what you're saying, because I think what I was saying before about the departments, it kind of verifies what you're saying. The main people that have access to putting out immediate information already have that access.
Yeah.
And they're the same people that I think should have the access.
Right.
But I think that department people need to be able to get on and just put housekeeping, basically. Like at the schools, if I'm so-and-so secretary, I can get on there to say, coffee hour with, the superintendent is going to be this day and time, but I don't have access to put on breaking news.
Right.
And that's kind of what I'm suggesting. They shouldn't have access to doing those
Well,
kind of things.
the only one that has put anything up there besides me has been Brian. Brian put the message up, and I want to say it was 12, 18 months ago after I first gave him that, and now he just emails me and stuff, because I have the ability to.
Which Brian?
Brian Lopez.
Okay.
I have the ability to put anything on our Facebook page from wherever I am. Last year, I got a note, I can't remember what was happening, I got a notice on Friday afternoon, or Friday evening, actually, and it buzzed during the second quarter of my basketball game, and at halftime, I sent my girls in the locker room, and I updated Facebook, and then I went over and yelled at the girls. But I can, wherever I am, I can get notified, because I also get all my emails from my desktop come to my phone. So, the first thing I do in the morning is read my emails before I even head over here, so I know what's going on.
And you're able to do that because you have confidence that those particular people are giving you correct information, and that
Right,
they have the authority to
Well,
ask
I
you
get them
for
from
that.
Carol, and I'll get them from Sharon and Lorenda, and Ruth will send it to me, but those are the people that communicate me from those departments.
Next question for you, Ted. You're talking about an emergency 1700. Would that be a good idea to have it stream on the Grozio's webpage, or do you not think so? Because that could be
The radio?
The radio.
There's nothing, I mean, to be honest with you, the last time it was used by a township was probably 2005, 2006, and I don't remember when Doug McIntosh left our employment, but he was the last one to use it for information on that year's Island Fest. So I want to say 2007, 2006 was the last time I'm aware that anybody has put township information on the radio.
Okay. The situation with the chemicals a couple years ago, was that put through the radio, or was...
Basically, it was 12 years ago. There was a central command, which we practice yearly, usually in October. The police department has a computer dedicated for communications. They can go from that computer through LogMeIn to the television and the community bulletin board and the web page, and they can put notices up from the public service building. They are connected. Also, like I said, that day I got a call at 4:30 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. I came in, and we took the television and we took the audio on our station, and I don't know if you were involved, but they were typing out press releases to me. I would type them in on the community bulletin board, and I'd read them live over the TV station. So people were tuned into Channel 12 at the time. It was the only one we had. We didn't have WOW or the other one. People could get information.
Remember, those were like a slideshow.
And that goes on the webpage. That's one.
At that time, it did go on the webpage.
But
Now we
it
have
does.
Granicus, yeah.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if I wouldn't even have to come in that day, because anything that was called into me, I can now log into my desktop computer and change the community bulletin board, change the television station, and change the webpage. So
And the
I don't have to physically be on the island to
And
do
the police
that.
chief can do that too, correct? You said?
Yeah,
through
they
something,
have a
yeah.
computer in the
Okay.
public safety room, and they have a monitor, so they see what's on the community, on the TV station, and they can control it.
What
They
I'm
can
getting-
shut off, there's an emergency message that they can put up that says, such and such is emergency happening, please stay tuned to this station for further bulletins.
Basically, what I'm getting at is there's already something in place. If there's an emergency, it can be put on the webpage.
Yeah, we're part of,
That's
Chief Murdoch and a committee of citizens put together an emergency plan, and we're part of it. And I don't think we did it last year, but every other year, we have a mock emergency, and sometimes with Riverview and Trenton and us, and we all gather at the public safety, go through this mock emergency, which includes communications.
Well, and on top of that, they have, there's there is more than one way to reach people. They have the first call, they have the ability to do the reverse call, the reverse 911, where they call everybody who's on the township call list to advise people of an emergency. We have the sirens now, we have
The radio station.
we have the webpage, we have the cable. Just about the only thing we don't have is something that would work when nobody had, like when we had the big power failure, I think that was in 2001, and nobody had any power after a while.
The thing I was getting back
That's when we need the ponies, but I think we have the
Well,
new
actually, we're better off in that area now with no power, a cell phone.
Oh, yeah.
Cell phone, to me,
That's right.
Facebook, and everybody that's on Facebook, all of a sudden, 600
You still had
people,
satellite.
600 people have, without power onto the island. Say if that storm comes through here tonight and wipes it
Yeah.
out, I mean, we still have the ability to communicate through social media.
That's what I was getting at, that we do have things put in place if there's a situation where people need to, and they don't have to go through. One of the concerns that was mentioned before was that if TED was not accessible, nobody could get information on the webpage. And apparently there is a thing already put in place with this central command that information can go onto it.
So
That's what I was.
This is truly a breakthrough for all of us tonight, and I can't thank you enough, because I didn't realize that anybody had access to Facebook. And I've heard stories from certain people saying, well, I couldn't get a hold of, and I don't know, I'll take it at your word, but if you had access anyways, why were they chasing you?
I really don't.
You know what I
Just so you know, if you want to know more about it, here on the webpage, see that little box there? The
Yeah.
yellow? That's the
Okay,
emergency plan that Duncan wants every citizen to know.
so if we read that,
That, you read that, but caveat, I know he's rewriting it. He's updating it. So that little box is on almost every page on the webpage.
well, I think this is a true breakthrough, and this
So
might
if you go
save
to-
us a lot of money.
See the community alert system? That's what that is. See, and it has Duncan's whole plan, the brochure and everything they came up with. But that box is on every, I won't say every because nothing's ever true, but almost every page on the webpage you can get to that community alert system.
So then, if there's ever a question, if access was needed by managers or board members or other officers, they had it. They have the access to it,
Right.
and there's no reason that
Put yourself in even Mr. Loftus's position. If there's an emergency and he's making decisions on, part of the decisions, believe it or not, in emergencies are budget. We always have a finance director there in case of emergencies saying, I authorize to go get the dump truck, or I authorize to get this equipment, or I authorize to do this. And they're busy, but where I look at my job is, Duncan or Brian or Joey can look at me and say, Ted, we need this information out, and they go on handling the emergency, and I handle
but
information.
if they're already writing it,
Well,
if they've already written it.
well, they wrote it, and I once again, we're not the composers.
Right.
We're the tool.
Right.
But when, the salient point here too is, there are these massive floods in Germany, and right now they have something called political tourism. Every politician within a half mile of the flood region is out there shaking hands and making promises. And I think there is a tendency for political figures to want to seem they're on top of things, that they are in charge, that they are able to move the mountain to get the aid to the people. And I think that's important, certainly. But on Grosse Ile Township, our police chief, our fire chief, they are 24/7. They live on the island. They are paid to monitor. They have people on call 24/7. Our political officials certainly are on the call list, and they certainly do show up when they're necessary. But it's not their obligation necessarily to be the first one to get the news out. That's what we have the the incident command system in place for. That these roles are delegated to those who are in a position to effortlessly step into those shoes. So, but that is one of those situations that I think comes into play here too. You want to be able to appear like you're in charge and you have the information at your fingertips. But there are other and better ways to do that necessarily than through a web page.
And that might be the case, but I still think, and this is one thing I do want to touch base on, Ted kept saying that if they had nowadays a class, and I bet you there's a legal class out there and modified to the general purpose, and I'll look into that just so that we can offer that if somebody's ever interested in pursuing further.
Well, I think, especially, and I'm including us, the young kids, I mean, they don't watch television, they don't,
No, it's Hulu.
it's whatever, they're on all their devices, and what we have to make sure is that we can communicate with the devices.
Yeah. And they're even getting, I read an article recently that they're getting rid of using their internet at home.
Oh,
Because why pay for it when they can go to Starbucks or Panera and everything's free? So that's how they're not really giving up cable so much, which I was surprised. They're giving up the internet. Well, I was shocked by that, but I think we've made some real progress on this, and it'll help us when we're interviewing the new the candidates. So that's great. Okay, thank you, Ted. I think we've beaten the proposed content management system policy to death. I did want to talk about the website, the target audience, the wants, the needs, the expectations when we do this. I did some research on Grosse Ile residents, and we're different than a lot of places, and I was wondering, do you want to customize our website to go to a little bit older audience, which we are. In the state of Michigan, we're a little bit older, about 10 years older on average here.
I think we should maintain the website as an encyclopedia, how it is right now, and use our Facebook as a social media.
Okay, that's fine.
That would make sense, and would also make sense in cost-wise, because as Ted was saying, the majority of the users who use our webpage are realtors.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
And I think
there's no point to recreate when you don't need to.
I understand.
I think it's very important that, one of the most important things would be that everything be very up to date. Even though people aren't coming to the website necessarily as a immediate tool, everything that's on there, whatever it may be, needs to be very current, because the people that are using it are looking for that.
True,
I think
but
that's very important. Now, even if it's an older audience, I think they still want to have access to what's going on right now.
the responsibility does lie with the individual departments, and that the challenge is how to get the individual departments be as responsive as perhaps our customers want them to be.
That is the challenge.
That is the challenge, and I think they've been working on that for quite a while now, and not successfully quite often at times. But again, it can be reiterated, and
Well, there is an aspect of this too that hasn't received a whole lot of traction, but in the incident command program, and Wally, you were a part of that implementation too in its day, the clerk and the clerk's office were assigned as communications officer in a emergency situation. And one of the roles of the clerk's office is to be the information officer of the township. They keep the records, they disseminate the information, they're the FOIA administrator and so forth. And I actually talked with Deputy Clerk Gray just a few days ago about, what does Mr. Ranka feel about his role as clerk in terms of information officer. And I think I should probably have that conversation with him in person, because I think that's one of the things, too, that might help ease the pressure on how to get the information out. Ted is a department of 1, the clerk's office is a department of 2.5. So that's 2 more people who could essentially be entrusted or given access or so forth as part of their job duties to update if we don't go to a content management system. You know, again, what the preferences are, but that hasn't been, I don't think that's been brought up at a meeting before
Suggested.
either.
No.
But that made Richard want to say something. I want to hear.
Basically, from my understanding, as Kathy stated, as well as I did, every time you give someone else
Yeah.
access to the web page, you create another window for someone to have another access, and your security starts degrading. You also get a problem with the format being different. It's my opinion from working with web pages and so forth. If we're going to keep the web page as more like an encyclopedia, it's best to have a person who's the monitor over it, rather than having a lot of individual people being able to add information. They can put input towards it, but for the person to put the information onto the actual web page, that should
Yeah,
be one person.
Okay.
Well, any other comments or questions? No. That being said, public comment. No public comment? Then our next commission meeting
Oh,
is...
we have a motion to make.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry? Or did we? I wrote it down this time so that it would be a really good motion.
Good.
I'd like to move to recommend that the Communication Commission recommends to the Township Board that it accept the low bid from Advanced Lighting and Sound for $21,103.54 for the upgrade/replacement of the TriCaster system in the GITV broadcast booth and boardroom, pending receipt of several good references to be provided by Advanced Lighting and Sound.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And it has passed. Great. Okay, that being said, no public comment. Our next commission meeting is July 10th. Woody, you said you had a problem with that date?
I'm going to be on vacation.
Okay. Anybody else have a problem with that date? Ted has a problem with that date. Okay, well, would this 1 month, would we like to move it back a week? Would you be available the week after on the 17th?
No.
No. Okay. Well, how about a different day? Or what is
The
your,
week before is the 3rd.
is anybody
the night
want to?
Before the holiday.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I can't be
No.
there that
It's
night.
not uncommon
I can't
for
make that.
commissions to, have a summer holiday or a summer break.
Well, we could do that in July, and in the
Unless
meanwhile,
a decision needs to be made.
No, I won't have anything to present probably till August or September for the next third of this upgrade.
if that is appropriate, we will be doing work on interviewing, and we can
Right, that's what I was going
communicate.
to say, as long as that was happening
Oh, that's
during
gonna happen,
July,
yeah.
then August we could meet to kind of see what we've,
Okay,
kinda
we can
come out.
send that. And Richard, I hope you're going to volunteer to be with me?
I can volunteer.
Okay, good. And then twist around. Okay, then we have to have a motion to skip July and go to the August meeting. Do I have a motion to have a summer hiatus for July?
I motion.
Sherry?
I second.
Second, and all in favor?
Aye.
And it's passed. Our meeting is adjourned at 8:45. Thank you very much.